Are you a small business owner who's stuck inside all day in winter because you work from home? If so, you're like me, and I'm going to share with you some amazing, amazing tips to make winter more enjoyable, even when you work from a desk in your home office. So let's be real. Working from home in winter can be wonderful and it can be awful. So wonderful, it means you don't have to go trudging through the snow to your local metro station. You're not going to be stuck in traffic because there's a big blizzard. It can be really wonderful to know that, hey, you can linger a little bit longer sipping your coffee, looking at the new snowfall outside, and then simply sit down at your home office desk. So for all the wonderful pieces that come into working from home in winter, there's a lot of negatives that are also made more extreme by wintertime too. And I would say one of them is the darkness, right? So the fact that you wake up, it's already dark. You work, and by the time you're done, especially if you work kind of a traditional 9 to 5, it's dark. Especially, height of December, early January, very, very dark. It's also cold. And sometimes that can be distracting if you don't have, enough blankets on, or you don't have a heater on. I run cold, so I really, really need to make sure those things are available when I need them. And also it can be really sad too, because you're looking outside, you see the gorgeous snow, and you just want to kind of go for a walk, or like put your snow pants on and dive in to make a snow angel or snowman. It can be, just like summer, sitting at your desk in summer, you're thinking, oh, I wish I could be outside right now. It could also be if you love winter, oh, I wish I could be outside right now. Now, I've written a blog post before about how to enjoy winter more generally, not just when you work from home, especially in non-pandemic times. So that will be linked below if you're watching this at that point. A lot of the tips today will be useful for, whatever time period you're in. Hopefully you're getting outside, nothing's restricted, there's no pandemic, but all of these will be useful for that too. You just have a secondary resource in case you're able to go skiing, for example. Now, I'm in winter 2021. This is February. As I'm filming this, I don't yet know what the groundhog has said. Is it going to be an early spring? Is it going to be a long winter? I'm not quite sure, but regardless, we have at least a few weeks left, so let's make them more enjoyable. I'm going to give you 9 tips for how to enjoy winter while working from home, especially in the winter of 2021, but again, use them for the future. So the first one is the most mindset focused one, and I've got some notes here with me. It's really thinking of winter in your business too as a time for planting seeds, because you're probably wanting to stay in your blanket a little bit longer, curled up, feeling, protected, not wanting to venture too far outdoors, wanting to stay close to home. The darkness can make us tired too. I think that's important to recognize, but in content marketing, there's a piece of wisdom that says everything you do now will see its greatest effect in 3 months' time. One really tangible example of that is SEO, right? So what you start now for SEO will have its biggest results on Google in 3 months' time. And I think that this is useful not just for our content marketing, but also for our life too. I think it's wonderful to see a season or a quarter as a time with its own kind of unique energy. And I think of wintertime as a time to be planting seeds, because we can't, just think of the symbolism behind it, I guess. So spring, we're blooming, right? We're putting ourselves out there. Everything is new. We might have a new launch coming. Winter's a wonderful time to prepare for all of that and to think about, especially with the new year, to think about, what is this year going to look like for me? As far as is in my control, what do I desire for this year to look like? What do I want to create this year? And really start, learning what you need to make that happen, setting in the systems that you want to have support you in making that happen, etc. So I think that's a really useful mindset to have. Winter is a time for planting seeds. It's okay for it to be restful and to be beginning something new, especially if it really does match. So maybe you have a launch in spring or summer. Winter is one of these more maintenance times for you, or a strategy time. Get some stuff done that's going to see its results in a few months from now. So for example, if you want to start a YouTube channel sometime in the new year, spend like January and February learning about YouTube. Record as many videos in advance as possible to give yourself a bit of a buffer when you start publishing, so you have time to learn how to edit, etc. You might want to batch your blog posts for a whole season or a whole quarter and really support yourself, so that way, you're this is a plan to get you visibility, when you're blooming in spring, but also you'll free up a little bit of time and space in spring for your future self. So I encourage you to plant those seeds. All right, number 2, outdoor winter activities. Now I know in certain places, ski resorts, etc. are closed down. So you may not be able to do the kind of traditional outdoor winter activity, but particularly if you live in a place with snow, there are certain things you can only do at this time of year, right? So you can only go to an outdoor skating rink in the wintertime. You can only go snowshoeing when there's snow on the ground. So really embrace that. You've got your weekends or another day of the week that's your holiday. So go and just enjoy what winter has to bring. Make sure that you make a point of doing that, because before you know it, the snow is going to have melted and you'll have to wait a whole other year. I want to point out some practical tips there. Number 1, if you have a dog, bring them outside with you. They're incredibly fun in the snow. Maybe kids too. Can't speak from personal experience except for when I was a kid. Also, what else do I have here? So perhaps you work a traditional 9 to 5 and you think it's important to get outside and get fresh air every day. I think so too. So maybe take a break at lunch, like eat for a half hour, spend the other half hour just going for a walk in the neighborhood. Dress warmly and you'll enjoy it. But like I said, at least prioritize it for your days off. Now this is connected to point number 3, which is sunlight. It's hard enough as a Canadian and as someone who works indoors a lot to get enough vitamin D in the summertime. In the wintertime, it's really, really difficult. And you see that with a lot of northern countries, Scandinavia in particular. So there's some different things you can do for that. Try and get natural sunlight as much as possible, because I also think the value of having the fresh air and the natural experience is really, really high. But try and get that sunlight at least on your face. Wear sunscreen, but get the sunlight on your face, even if you don't have your arms exposed, right? Also consider getting supplements, vitamin D supplements. I would talk to your doctor about that. See if you are kind of low in your vitamin D or how they recommend taking it. But I think that that's something to keep aware of, that that's an option for you, especially if you live in a northern country. Sometimes it's the only option, especially if you find that your mood is drastically impacted by the winter season. Sometimes it's just that we're not getting enough sunlight exposure. And I find I'm affected by that. I love the sun too. I love the summer. So embracing the outdoors combined with making sure that I'm getting the vitamins I need from the sun, it really makes sure that I'm enjoying the wintertime a little bit more. So it's worth being aware of. Let's talk a little bit about the research for that. So research also suggests that when sunlight hits skin in particular, it triggers the generation of serotonin, a chemical related to our levels of contentment. In fact, many medical treatments for anxiety and depression are centered around helping our bodies increase the presence of serotonin in our brains, like SSRIs or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. This is a common medication for depression, for anxiety. It really just slows down how much serotonin gets reabsorbed, right? So it just keeps that feeling of contentment a bit longer, like an average brain, right? So this is something, as somebody who has generalized anxiety disorder, at least at this point in my journey, SSRIs are very, very helpful. And if I can generate that more physically, obviously I have a bit of a struggle with it as someone with GAD. Getting more sun exposure can also really, really support me. I think that's why naturally, even before I knew all of this theory behind it and could feel the effects of supportive medication, I could tell that I was happier in sunshine. The more I could get into sunshine, the better, which is probably why I love Valencia, Spain, because they have over 300 days a year, probably more than that, of just sunshine. It's beautiful. Also kind of related, number 4 is to protect your health. Wintertime is flu season. It's also cold season. We're living through a pandemic right now as I am filming this. So it's really, really important to make sure, get the sleep that you need. Make sure if you're low in any vitamins that you talk to your doctor about it, and make sure you're, eating nutritious food, all that kind of stuff. I also think it's important to make sure that getting your flu shot is on your schedule, especially if you're watching this at the beginning of wintertime. As soon as a COVID shot is available, make sure you get that too. It's obviously healthy for you, healthy for our society, but also can directly impact people who are immunocompromised or who are elderly or even young kids when we're talking about something like the flu, right? Like, it's simple, safe, preventative measure that you can take that will help you and everybody around you to have a better winter. Easy to implement. Speaking of supplementation, maybe go check your blood work. Do your physical at the beginning of winter or midway through winter, especially if you're feeling a little off. Make sure you check in with your doctor. And if you get sick, if at all possible, because I understand people's work situations are different, try and take the time off, especially if you are working, with people in person, to protect them as well, right? You don't like being sick. Why get somebody else sick, right? Especially if it could be someone who's immunocompromised or elderly or something like that. But also let your body rest and recover, because you'll get back to work faster. It's just undeniable. We see that time and time again. And it's just honoring your body. It's going to go through ebbs and flows. It doesn't need to be going at 100 every single day. Appreciate it for where it's at and take care of it. I think that's really important amid all the colds that are happening in wintertime. So number 5 is wear thermals for real. Because as I was growing up, I'm in Canada, so I've definitely heard of people wearing, long johns, wearing their thermal underwear, wearing their thermal layers. But I really didn't know anybody who wore them. Maybe some men. Nobody really wears them. I think even to this day as I'm filming this, and I don't know why not. It's not like anybody sees them. It just keeps you warmer. So wear thermals. You can get some really cute ones too that work as like a layer, right? Like a nice thermal top that you can put a sweater over, and then if you get too hot you can take it off. So wear thermals. There's no shame in it. If you're looking for some good thermals, try out shops like Marks and Spencer. I have some good ones from there. Calzedonia has some good legging thermals. Not available in Canada, but if you're elsewhere in the world. So look for reviews, find some good quality thermals, and they'll stick with you for winter after winter, most likely, keeping you warm from the inside out, and nobody else will know. Number 6 is to heat up your bones regularly. So this was on that blog post I mentioned from 2019, pre-pandemic, when things like hot yoga or going to your gym sauna were on the table for heating up your bones. And hopefully when you're watching this, that's an option to you again. But there's other ways to heat up your bones, and I've got some ideas here. Let's go back for a second and I'll share with you why I think this is such an important piece. I've always had a really hard time dealing with winter. I am a cold person, not emotionally, but physically, I run cold. So I discovered really 2018, 2019, that hot yoga, as much as I was intimidated by it, was really good for me, because I would wake up, go to an early morning class, and I felt warm. Like I could not get myself warm at any other time in winter. That was the thing with winter. Like I could just never feel warm enough for months. It was really awful. I really suffered through winter. But yoga, hot yoga, because you're spending like an hour and 90 minutes in there in such intense hot temperatures, moving your body, it really warmed me to my core, and it would stay with me for like, I couldn't put a coat on when I went back outside, went to the car, drove home, had a nice shower, felt warm for the whole day. Right? And it just knowing that I could go to that was really supportive to me. That's why I think it's so important. And there's other ways to get really, really deep warmth like that, even at home. So having a hot bath is a really good option. I don't have a bathtub. If you have a bathtub, go for it. And be prepared with your like snuggly bathrobe. And this is also really good because if you do it a couple hours before you go to bed, there can be sleep-related benefits. So raising your body temperature and allowing it to cool down long enough before bed, I'll try and find a resource and put this in the description, that can really support you in going to sleep too. So lots of benefits. You can also get your heart rate up, sweat, exercise, cardio, and if you're so lucky, enjoy something like a hot tub if you have one, or your sauna. I know not everybody does, but I think either of the two former ones are open to many people, if not everyone. All right, number 7, kind of tying back to what I was saying about thermals, is to invest in outerwear and wear a hat. So the hat thing I really want to mention, because I think in Canada we do a reasonable job of it, but I've lived in Spain before where it still gets cold, especially depending on the region. It can snow, right? But people don't wear hats there. I don't know why, but I've been told they're not cool by some people, and I'm hoping that changes, because it's keeping the warmth in your head. That's where it all escapes from. Wear a hat, even if you don't think it's cool. Wear one that you think is cute. I love pom-poms. Do it. Outerwear, a lot of us buy really cheap coats that we're thinking we're saving money, but they're not warm enough, and we just can't stay warm. We have to put layer after layer on. But if you buy a really good quality coat, it will last you for years, and eventually the price per wear will equal out, right? And also hopefully surpass it. If it's a really good investment, you're going to have that coat for years to come, and it's going to do a better job of keeping you warm, and in the long run, you're not going to waste as much money buying a cheap coat every year. The same goes for boots. Oh, I learned that lesson the hard way. Some very, very cold toes and some really cheap boots, and now I've had a pair of boots, I think, for 5 years. I'll probably get some new ones soon just to like mix up the colors, but they're doing fine. If you have a hard time finding a really good investment coat that's warm enough, that's stylish as well, then I'm going to link you to a great YouTube channel called Fashion Mumbler by Josie. She has a great blog too, and I can send you to a specific blog post that she does about finding a really good winter coat. Number 8 is to bring life indoors. What I mean by that is essentially flowers and plants. I think plants in particular are really a great option because they are actively living. They're refreshing your air with oxygen. There's something to nurture. Remember, going back to the idea of planting seeds in wintertime, this is something to nurture in a similar way. It can really light up your space. I have a plant at my desk that I can enjoy every single day. I water it, take care of it, make sure it gets sunshine. Reminds me to open the blinds when I start my work day. I think that's a beautiful way to do it. And even if you have like garden centers that are closed right now in the pandemic, there's actually quite a few services. If you just do a quick Google search for your neighborhood or your city, you'll probably find places that are now delivering plants. It's kind of a unique service, but you can find some really lovely plants. Just start with one. See if you enjoy taking care of a plant, and it's just a symbol of life in the middle of winter. Finally, number 9 is the most important one, which is to ask for help. Because like I mentioned, wintertime can bring up physical and emotional experiences that can be really hard to deal with. It can bring up seasonal depression. It can exacerbate your anxiety. It can highlight any kind of physical issues that you have going on because you also have, diluted vitamins in your system, all that kind of stuff. Again, not a scientist, not phrasing that right, but I think it's really important to recognize what you need and to ask for it. So whether that's asking a friend to have a chat with you, if it's going to your doctor, getting your blood work checked, sharing that you're feeling, maybe not quite right emotionally, like not like yourself, if you want to try doing therapy for the first time, whether you can afford something like that or you just start local with people who care about you and who will be open to talking about your physical or emotional health, I think it's really important to ask for that support and find any free resources you can, whether it's a hotline, etc., to support you even if you don't feel like you have someone in your everyday life who gets it. There are people out there who do. Even if they're online, even if they're over the phone, and they are going to support you to make sure that wintertime is a good time for you, that you get through and you come back to spring when all those seeds you planted have spread. Coming full circle. So if you have any tips aside from these 9 for enjoying winter, and especially enjoying winter during a pandemic, if you're watching this right now and winter 2021, I'd love to hear your ideas. I really think you can help people with some great ideas of how to make working from home in the winter a little bit more enjoyable. All right, thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button and the little bell for notifications so you never miss a video on entrepreneurship, kind of like today. This was a quirky one, but entrepreneurship, copywriting, and content marketing, which are my areas of expertise. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next time.